Funding for Curate, the Arizona Arts and Culture Fund, is made possible by Signal Society member Eleanor Light, and by you can become a curator of the arts on 8. For more information, call 602-496-8888.
And now, an 8 special presentation.
This time on Art Beat Nation. The message of love captivates an entire city.
And that's been a lot of fun to do. Bigger and brighter and better is always more fun.
A photographer recalls how she fell for photos.
There's a time where your brain starts working differently. You start to see all those things that you were missing before.
Sculpture with an earth-saving function.
I kind of start at the beginning. I get the machine, and then I fix the machine, and then the machine makes things for the sculptures. So it's kind of like a really progression of stuff.
Go behind the scenes at the Arizona Opera Costume Shop.
We are making the things custom, a lot like couture fashion.
It's all ahead on this edition of Art Beat Nation. Funding for Art Beat Nation is made possible by donations to Curate, the Arizona PBS Arts and Culture Fund, and by contributions to 8 from viewers like you. Thank you. Valentine's Day may have come and gone, but Houston artist Wiley Robertson is working to keep love in the air, and on signs, and on walls all year round.
Yeah, a lot of people have come to me from seeing the love signs and told me stories about it's made them happy, or I don't know, use it for their wedding photo or something like that. That really makes me happy as an artist. It makes me want to do more stuff. That's, I don't know, a compliment that I love to hear is people recognizing my work and seeing it around town. My name's Wiley Robertson. I'm a working artist, muralist, lived in Houston my whole life. I've always loved positive artwork. So many signs in Houston, like strip centers and just lots of ugly signs. I thought it'd be nice to do like some positive reminders around the city. Something bright, hand-painted, colorful for people to enjoy where they drive around or stuck in traffic or what have you. When I first started doing the street art, like most stickers and like posters I saw were all black and white. So I thought it'd be different if I could do something that was like really colorful and really bright. That would help make it stick out, or at least people could recognize my style just from the colors, sort of. So by doing that, I was able to reach people I would never reach before, because Houston is a huge city. And that's really what excites me a lot, is just new people seeing my work. I mean, when I first started doing it, it was all just the signs. 2 years ago, I started doing more big love installations. Now that I've gotten permission from some people to paint their walls, and that's been a lot of fun to do. Bigger and brighter and better is always more fun. Yeah, most visible work's on 59 by Wendy's, right off the freeway by Maine. Dandy Warhol was running a gallery there, and he had mentioned it to me like in passing, I think at some point, that if I wanted to, I could get up there and paint it. So eventually I picked him up on that and got all the ladders required and equipment and got up there and painted it. And it's a lot of fun because I'm sure at least 500,000 people see it a day. Some people can see the word love and probably bad connotations or whatever, broken up recently or something like that. But yeah, like there's so much stuff in Houston. There's such a daily grind people get caught up in, work and life. It's nice just to have a little subtle reminder hidden, sprinkled throughout Houston. I really just want to cover my artwork throughout Houston and just continue to improve my work as a muralist, continue to promote myself. I hope that the younger generation gets inspired and does even more awesome stuff than I'm doing and people I know, and keep seeing more. graffiti and street art. Love.
For more, visit WileyRobertson.com. Up next, a photographer recalls how she fell in love with taking pictures. It began with a spark and has evolved into a successful career. We take a look at her body of work and track how she went from novice to pro.
I started to take pictures when my kids were little. I think what I wanted to do is make sure that I never forgot those moments. And it translated to when we went somewhere and traveled to take that picture to make sure if I got really, really old and I couldn't remember anymore, I had the picture to look at and remember those moments. I actually fell in love with photography our first trip to Yosemite. I knew what I wanted to get, but I was missing the technique. And actually my husband suggested, you should take classes. And taking classes online, I met my mentor, Jim Zuckerman, and he took me under his wing. I asked him, do I really need to choose? I don't want to choose. Everybody's asking me, are you a landscape photographer? Are you a fashion photographer? What kind of photographer are you? And he said, you don't have to choose. You can be great at all these different things. You just need to go out there and shoot and practice and find your ways. I do landscape photography, and then I also shoot model portfolios and fashion photography for some up-and-coming magazines. With models, I want to bring out their real personalities, not just the external beauty, but it's also who they are as a person. My husband is my #1 fan. That's what he calls himself. He's been very, very supportive. Sometimes I take over the whole house. Sometimes I'm gone for dinner. And my children too. I often use my children as my reflector holders. And as well as my brother. He helped me start in this as well. So my family, they're my #1 supporters. During my trip to Africa, I was able to shoot during sunset on a hill, a cheetah and a lady. This lady owns a lodge there, which is also a preserve, and she rescued 3 cheetahs. And one of the cheetahs has become almost like her pet. I was in awe. It was hard to shoot because it was so emotional. Their relationship, it was incredible. The trust between both of them was just incredible. The colors, everything. I have a whole collection. I couldn't stop shooting because it was so amazingly perfect. Like God said, here's the light, here's the moment, shoot, And that was a very special moment. So that's what I want to transmit, the emotion, that moment. I want to share that moment with people. Having my photography in different galleries, I had a hard time receiving the feedback from the people. I was afraid of that negative comment. Will people like my stuff? Because everybody that said they were amazing was my family or my friends. What are they going to tell me? Oh my God, this is awful. So it was really, really hard. And I stood back and tried to listen, and it was like, oh my God, they really like them. And my family and friends said, we told you. There's a time where your brain starts working differently. You start to see all those things that you were missing before. I think what sets me apart from other photographers is my style, is my passion, is what I see through that camera. You can actually shoot a model. You can have 4 different photographers in the same place at the same time shooting the same model, and all the pictures will look different. I want people to know me through my photography, to get to know who I am. And I'm working really hard at doing that. There's so much to learn, there's so much out there. I think photography is always evolving. There's all kinds that you can try and do, but I never want to get away from the passion that I have from it. Even though I can use new techniques and new ideas, I like to stay with a passion. but always learning from the best to become the best. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up.
To see more, visit GabriellaMachaneyPhotography.com. Up next, we meet a mechanical sculptor with an ecological conscience. In this segment, we take a ride with him on his carbon monoxide-eating scooter. Learn how this unusual bike siphons emissions to run.
Ready to roll?
I think a lot of folks are just really running down the road and not really seeing what's beside the road. And I'm really interested in smelling flowers and looking at stuff like that. I was a very different kid. I would be always doing drawings. The kids in my neighborhood play baseball, and I'd climb in this tree above the baseball game, and I'd draw them from above. Ever since I was a kid, since I was really little, I was always making stuff in my garage. I used to always be like working and tinkering, like when I was really little, like making stuff and finding out about making things with my hands. That was really important. I was using power tools when I was like 5. Most kids were like, you know, playing baseball. I was like cutting stuff up. I still have all my fingers too. My dad was great. He was an engineer and he helped me to see things and how they go together. And I used to hammer and nails and wood and all kinds of metals and stuff. And I'd make stuff out of that, and he'd make like go-karts. My scooter kind of came about from a couple of places. I'm a mechanical sculptor. I make kinetic sculptures, and I'm always fascinated with machines and how machines move. So in order to make some of the things that I make, I have to make the machines that make these sculptures. So I kind of start at the beginning. I get the machine, and then I fix the machine, and then the machine makes things for the sculptures. So it's kind of like a really progression of stuff. That's how my process sort of starts. I kind of came across this scooter, kind of like a broken scooter. So I fixed it, and I've been riding it with a group of other fellow scooterists around the Capital District. We went on a ride once. There were 10 of us, and we pulled up next to a giant pickup truck which was running on 10 cylinders. And there was one guy in that truck, and there was 10 of us, and he pointed at us and waved, and we laughed, and he laughed. And so we took off, and there was 10 of us going on the same amount of cylinders that his truck was running. So I'm kind of exploring ideas about how much we use, how much we consume as Americans and as people. My scooter is 1 cylinder. It's very small. It gets 90 miles per gallon, and it just hauls me around. So I'm interested in that. It's actually a carbon capture and recovery vehicle. It's called a Zero Scooter, and it's a machine that is carbon neutral. So the amount of carbon dioxide it intakes is equal to the amount it exports. The scooter itself pulls right up to the exhaust, and people kind of look at me kind of weird when I do what's going on. It pulls with a fan carbon monoxide through a filter. The filter is a multi-porous starch-based filter, which is an off-the-shelf item. So I don't know, it's actually Wonder Bread. Now everyone knows. I had initially been interested in the fact that it's kind of humorous.
All right. Yeah.
It was originally designed as a kind of a fun sort of project, but the evolution of it may actually be working. I've kind of gone away from being a sculptor that's just showing people, showing work in galleries. I'm trying to bring my work out into the public and in a public arena. So kind of bring it to people without them really having to go to the gallery to seek it out. I'm seeking them out. My work has evolved from like sedentary sculptures to this kind of sculpture with performance, and all of my sculptures right now have wheels so they can ride. So I have a character that I create, and they're all different characters, but the character I create for the scooter is like a rider, sort of a scientist. And it's more about, my work right now is more about, I mean, there are environmental aspects of it. Like I'm keenly aware about, you know, like the environment and what we're doing to the environment and how it's changing. But I think my work, I would like it to be more about observation, people looking at my work and piquing their interest as far as just not something in the norm, you know, like having something just kind of occur and come upon you, sort of, and you're like, wow, that's kind of, you know, interesting. My work is a lot about observation. I think environmental is important, but I think I want people to look at their environment. I think a lot of folks are just really kind of running down the road and not really seeing what's beside the road. I'm hoping to kind of bring about an awareness of this issue as far as carbon monoxide, but more importantly, I really want people to observe their world. I'm a person that's constantly looking at new things. So when you're driving in your car, you know, you're not just driving, you're looking for nuance, and I'm hoping that people will look for that. I want people to look at their environment. I want people to observe it. I want people to be conscious of it.
In our final segment, we go behind the scenes at the Arizona Opera Costume Shop, where manager Kathleen Trott guides us through the costume creation process, including conception, sketching, cutting, draping, sewing, and fitting.
Welcome to the Arizona Opera Costume Shop, and today we're actually working on a couple different things. I'm Kathleen Trott, and I'm the costume shop manager at Arizona Opera. Arizona Opera's actual physical building is located in the downtown area of Phoenix. So we're all here professionals who have chosen to do this as our career, and many of us have degrees in this field. We are making the things custom, a lot like couture fashion. It's made for a specific person. Generally 4 or 5 months out, the general director, Ryan, and our director for that specific production and our designers have met several times and had discussions about the way that the company as a whole wants the show to be developed. So once they've met and decided the flow of the show, then the designer and the director will have conversations about specifics for characters. Is this character, are they emotionally driven? Are they very logical? What kind of colors is the director imagining that this character wears? And then you also discuss the actual logistical problems. Like, well, he gets money, so he needs to have a pocket to put the money in because it has to go somewhere. So then the designer will do some rough sketches, put together some research, maybe some color swatches, and the designer and the director will go back and forth about, well, I like that shape, but not that color, or they actually need another dress, not just one, because we think that it's important for the development that we see that their clothes are changing as their character changes, that kind of thing. And then the designer will do sort of final renderings, and the final renderings are in color, and they sort of more clearly express the ideal costume that will be created at the end of the process. And then the shop will take the renderings and the measurements of our performers and create the costumes. So our draper, Cece, it's her job to take the measurement sheet and the flat rendering and create a pattern so that it can be put together into a three-dimensional garment. This is one of my rough sketches from Arizona Lady, which is our first show of our next season. This is for Nellie. She's a vaudeville actress. So this is another fabric for her. And I can lay it out with the right side is the pretty side, down against the table. And then I'll take my pattern piece and I'll line it up on the fabric. And then mark on my fabric with something that won't show from the outside, but that I can see here. And then that's the line I would cut on. And then it gets all folded together into a pile like this. So this is one of the robes for Magic Flute. And Cece has patterned it all already, and then it's all been cut out. And then we write quick instructions on the paper here so that our stitcher could come and pick up this pile of pieces, read the instructions, and then start building it. After the garment is cut out into its pieces, our stitchers will put it together, and stitchers stitch, it's pretty self-explanatory name. So they'll pin it together and sew it, and generally we will then call our performer back in for another fitting that is the actual garment, but it's not a final fitting, so the closure might not be in yet, the hem might not be done, trim won't be put on, things like that. So that way we can put the actual garment on to make sure that it looks the way that we want it to before we finish the whole thing. And then our wardrobe supervisor is in charge of making sure that the costumes that were designed by the designer maintain their look at the performance space. And it's their job to wash what needs to be washed after each performance, iron and steam what needs to be ironed, to make sure that the performers are wearing pants when they should be wearing pants and not wearing them when they shouldn't be wearing them, and that they're the correct pants and not the wrong pants. You'd be surprised. And then when we strike the show, striking the show means that you take it all down and bring it all back to wherever you're storing it, or if you rent it or borrowed it, that you pack it up and send it back. So everything will get washed, and then after it's clean, it all gets sorted back into our stock. And some things stay together as a show. So right now, Cincinnati Opera has Don Pasquale, which we did a couple seasons ago. And that whole show in our stock stayed together because we knew when we struck that show was going to be rented. It just depends on the actual style of the show and if we have companies that we know want it immediately, whether or not it's kept together or it's separated out by time period and by men, women, child. It's nice for people to realize when they see something that's lovely on stage to just sort of at some point be a little bit aware of the amount of work and heart that goes in to the thing that's on stage as well, because often our blood a little bit and sometimes tears goes into the garment that's on stage.
For more, including upcoming performances, visit azopera.org. For more arts and culture, visit azpbs.org/artbeat, where you'll find feature videos and information on the Arizona art scene. Funding for Artbeat Nation is made possible by donations to Curate, the Arizona PBS Arts and Culture Fund, and by contributions to aid from viewers like you. Thank you.
Funding for Curate, the Arizona Arts and Culture Fund, is made possible by Signal Society member Eleanor Light, and by you can become a curator of the arts on 8. For more information, call 602-496-8888.